Is Nick Saban getting desperate to win another championship? Because tick, 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 the clock is ticking. Nick Saban says that his team should have been in the college football playoff last year because Vegas favored them over three of the four teams that were in the college football playoff. I would guess all but Georgia. He also questioned the commitment of athletes in NIL and the transfer portal. He calls for balance and says players don't have a contract. Okay. Nick Saban sells a lot of cars via his Mercedes dealership. So he knows what a contract is. He signs a contract. He knows what a contract is. He should also know that a contract would require some sort of unionization because no athlete is going to say to themselves, hey, I have an idea. I'll sign a contract I don't have to sign. Nobody does that. I mean, nobody in the world signs a contract they don't have to sign unless there's something in it for them. So what are you going to do? Give them more cash? I mean, right now they have all the leverage. So that's just stupid. And it goes to show you that Nick Saban may be a fantastic coach, but not the greatest thinker when it comes to being a business mind. And the college football playoff, making that because Vegas favored them over three of the four teams, well, that's idiotic. I mean, if that's how we want to make it, and I'm all up for a formula because I don't really like the committee. I think they manipulate things to make it better for television. But if that's how we want to do it, let's do it. Let's roll with that and make like the old BCS formula. But to go by Vegas is pretty stupid. Your thoughts on both of those? As I remind people, you can go to crafttreats.com. Go to crafttreats.com, use the promo code off the hook, and you will get 20% off anything, including their chill pills. And their chill pills have the CBD derivatives in them, in which they can help with your pet's digestive issues. They can help with arthritis. They can also help with anxiety. They're awesome. Use the promo code off the hook. They've got non-CBD products as well. And they're just awesome pet treats. Go to crafttreats.com. Caleb, Vegas determining who makes the college football playoff and contracts for athletes. Take the floor, sir, because both of those sound really stupid to me.
Yeah, I don't know which one's dumber. I'm trying to think in my head which one is dumber. Okay, let's take
the tough question is which is dumber.
So let's take the Vegas one. Okay. You don't rank the best teams based on Vegas, or actually, you don't even do the top four based on who you think would win. Let me give you an example, Dave. What if Alabama lost to Auburn in the last game of last year, which they wouldn't have? But say Auburn upset them and they were now 9-3 instead of 10-2. I still would have favored Vegas. Still would have favored them over TCU and maybe even Ohio State in the college football playoff, and I would have picked them over TCU and Ohio State. Does that mean they should have gotten in with 3 losses over TCU and Ohio State? No, this is so absolutely ridiculous. And it's, look, 2 weeks ago we had a debate, and I actually was okay with, I actually was a fan of Nick Saban taking certain stances that he took. I defend him when I defend him. I criticize him when I criticize him. Both of these things are baseless. Now, for the contract thing, complaining about players not having contracts. One, you're right. You bring up the union. I'm going to bring up something else. Nick Saban was, in 2004, signed a 5-year extension with LSU on his contract. Did you know he broke it the year later to go to Miami? Then he signed a 5-year deal with Miami. Did you know he broke that after 2 years to go to Alabama?
I bet you the contracts he wants for players aren't going to be as easily brokeable.
Exactly.
I think brokeable is a word.
Or breakable. And you know what? Here's what'll really... This is what's so insane about what he's saying. It's such an unfair, he breaks contracts and say, well, I have a buyout in my contract. Yeah, like the other schools aren't paying the buyouts. Like when you break your contract with LSU, the Dolphins didn't pay that buyout. Or like Alabama didn't pay that buyout when you broke your contract with Miami. Like, come on. Okay,
I agree with all that. I mean, can you imagine if I called Caleb Giroux and I said, hey, everything's going great. You're doing a phenomenal job of covering recruiting, and we appreciate that. But I want you to sign this contract, and in that contract says that you have no flexibility to ever leave, and I'm not going to give you anything else for it. I mean, that's the idea. I mean, because there's no set NIL cash. There's no slated like the NFL where you get this, so you sign a contract. Why would you sign a contract that says I get $1,000 a month in my NIL deal and I will not transfer? Well, what if another deal comes up? What if you turn into a superstar and they say you can get $1 million? You say, no. I've signed my contract. Also, Travis brings up, I thought was a really good point. Saban showed how desperate he's become last year when he started pandering on why Saban should be ranked ahead of us. So that leads us back to the question, is Nick Saban desperate? Yes. Yes. And I think it would be heck on earth if he coached 5 more years, which is doable, and didn't win a championship. I think if he knew that right now, he would say that is absolutely horrible. So use whatever you want to. I'm using the word desperate. I think he wants to win one more championship if he coaches 3 to 5 more years. And if he doesn't, he's going to look at that as a failure because he's hard on himself. Doesn't mean his career's a failure, but the ending of it will have been a failure.
Largely because he hasn't won a legitimate championship in 6 years, because we all know that COVID championship shouldn't count, that 2020 season. And that was his last championship. And I'm with you. I want to add, by the way, with NIL, he once again threw we got to create more balance in college football, which I hate when coaches of big time institutions say that. Nick Saban, should Alabama get the same opportunities as UAB? Like, is that what we're saying here? I mean, you want to create balance in college football? You act like there was balance before NIL. No, you're just mad that the balance of power may be tipped against you with this one little thing. I mean, should we say, I made a joke the other day. I've said for a while, you know what I've talked about this. LSU has an unfair advantage with the amount of talent in their area. Should we put in a law that says only a certain amount of Louisiana kids can go to LSU every year to create balance?
I mean, I could see somebody bringing up that stupid of an idea, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me. Gary says Bama was favored against Tennessee and LSU last year and lost. So why did they even play the game, according to Nick Saban? Why even put it on the field? Listen, I'm all for a formula. And you may hate the formula idea. I know I've talked to John Adams about this, and he hates the formula idea. But I'm all for a formula that makes it cut and dry. But they don't want that because you could predict it the day before the selection Tuesdays that they have with the College Football Playoff Committee shows. You could predict it before. You could figure out the formula, and that's what happened with the BCS. So they're not going to do that. They don't want to do that because they want a television show. I mean, basically, they threw together Friends or Seinfeld, and it's on every Tuesday during football season. It gets ratings. They sell advertising.
It also has people talking about the games that weekend.
I will never forget John Ward talking to one of our broadcasting classes, and he said, it's really just about the games. Do you know why they do a pregame and postgame? Oh, well, it's to talk about the game coming up and talk about the game after. He goes, no, it's for advertising. That's exactly what that show is, that College Football Playoff Committee show. It's not about getting excited about the College Football Playoff. It's about advertising, Caleb. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it is about advertising, but it also helps increase interest in the sport themselves. I will say that. Like, Nick Saban is so hypocritical with Vegas because about 10 years ago, one of his lash outs at the media was they were playing, I think, Western Kentucky, and all the Alabama media was like, Alabama should blow them out. And he got really mad at the media. He's like, you guys are at fault for us having a bad practice today because you keep propping up our players and not giving the other team the respect. So why do we play the game? I'm like, because the reason you're getting paid $8 million, part of that is because of the analysis and the coverage and the writing and all of the stuff that adds to the entertainment value of what you do. And now all of a sudden, you don't want that you want to care about that prognostication when it comes to Vegas.